Hello again. So if you listen to my video on how to get a private pilot license, you may have some questions that come out that kind of broaden beyond just the specifics in which I talked about the technical detail of how to get it. So this is the purpose of this video. I'd like to divide the questions that I get typically into maybe 4 categories. One is, what's the difference between a private pilot license and a recreational license? 2 is, how long, how much does it cost? Things like that in general, so the practical aspects of it. Third would be, what are the requirements for me in terms of what innate abilities do I need to have? And fourth, maybe what happens after? What can I do with it, that type of thing. So first of all, let's talk about private pilot license versus recreational pilot permit. PPL, private pilot license, is the first stage, could be the first stage towards your career, because you can add a lot of things onto it. It allows you to fly in VFR conditions, visual flight rule conditions, which means you have a visibility of at least 3 miles when you're in controlled airspace, or less in uncontrolled airspace, but you probably don't want to do that. You have to be at least 500 feet below cloud and away from cloud. I don't know if there's more detail to that, but that's kind of general rules. So you can't fly at night, you cannot fly at night, and you cannot fly in cloud, of course. It allows you to carry as many passengers pretty well as you can fit into the airplane that you're flying. Single engine though, of course, you can't go out and fly a Boeing 747 with a private pilot license. Well, at least not without adding a lot of qualifications onto it. Recreational pilot license, on the other hand, is more restricted. You can't add any qualifications on it. I should actually qualify that. You can add a float rating, but that's pretty well all that you can add onto it. Again, day VFR, you are restricted to only 1 passenger. You are not trained to do cross-country trips, so there's a bit of a limitation there. And it's also valid. It is only valid in Canada. You can't cross the border with it. Going back to the PPL, there are a lot of things that you can add onto it. You can add a night rating, an IFR rating, you can multi-engine rating, etc. So there's quite a variety of the different things. And then, of course, it can lead you to a commercial pilot license if you want to make a career out of it. So the other question would be, how long does it take? How much does it cost? And both of those are difficult to answer, except in a very specific case for somebody, because our experience has been it takes about 65 hours on average. Now, an average, of course, there's a lot of range around that. We might get people that do it in 55 hours and people that do it in 75 hours or more in some cases. The variables are how often you fly, perhaps. One certainly is age. As you're younger, you'll find that it's easier to learn, it's easier to gain a physical ability to control an airplane, and certainly as well, things like how much sports you do, how your hand-eye coordination is, and things like that. So going on the basis of an average of 65 hours, and an average pilot maybe who flies 1 hour a week, it usually is going to take about a year to get it, and the cost is going to be in the range of $14,000 in our club, at least with the prices that we have. There are ways that you can reduce that, certainly by flying more often. Flying up to 3 times a week is optimal. More than that, you start to run into perhaps not having the ability to absorb enough the material that you're learning, but a lot of people have done it if they really want to do it. In fact, cadets do it in 45 hours by flying every day, and they do it in pretty well a month. So that would be about as much as I can say as far as how long and what cost, because it's extremely variable. But in your individual case, we can talk about it if you want. Some of the questions then that would come in that I get often are, how about personal ability? I wear glasses, is this a problem? Well, no, I've got a commercial license and I wear glasses. How old can you be to learn? I learned when I was in my 50s. So really, there's not really very much physical limitations unless you have a physical disability, which might make it a bit harder, or physical in the sense of health disability, which might make it difficult for you in some case to continue to control the airplane. So those might be something that could exclude you from actually learning how to fly. People ask me, for instance, well, I'm not very good at math, I'm not very technical. This is a problem? It's certainly, if you haven't been in school for a number of years, you might have a little bit of difficulty kind of getting up to speed in the ground school, but you've got time to do that really again in the year. Our ground school lasts maybe 3 months, and you've got a lot of help from your flight instructor and from the ground instructors to help you through it. And really the program is not very, very difficult. It doesn't require high math at all. It's just really basic arithmetic, what you can do with a four-function calculator or an aviation calculator, which takes a lot of the pain out for you. So it's not that difficult. So then the last question would be, what can I do after that? So one area then would be, can I rent a club airplane? In our case at the Rockcliffe Flying Club, yes, certainly. That's one of the reasons why we keep more aircraft around than we do, and we try and encourage people to rent them when they can. We do trips. We have organized cross-country trips where we put aside a couple of airplanes for people who don't own one. Certainly for people who want to do a trip, you have to keep in mind that we make money on airplanes. Of course, they have to be used. So you can't rent one of our airplanes and go to Cornwall, which is less than an hour flight away, and keep the airplane for 3 days. We'd be losing money compared to the money that we could make with it. So we have some requirements there. Another option that many people have taken at our club is to buy airplanes. Now it could be pretty daunting to buy an airplane by yourself, and it is expensive, there's no doubt, but a lot of people have gotten together and created teams which bought an airplane, and then so now you have shares that you can sell out, and that you can buy, or that people can buy as people move along, because people will get tired of flying the same plane or want to go into a faster airplane, or for some various reasons maybe move away. So there's fairly often are shares to buy. So this is one solution that we have to offer, is we generally try and help people to do that, to buy an airplane, and certainly to organize a group sharing an aircraft. The other part of what else after could be, what do you want to do? Would you want to keep on learning? Well, there's plenty of opportunities with a private pilot license. First one that we suggest to people is to get a night rating. It doesn't take a lot to do that. It's basically 5 hours of instrument, 5 additional hours of instrument beyond the 5 hours you'll have with a private pilot license. 5 hours of dual flying at night with an instructor, and 5 hours of solo flying at night again. And so with a 15-hour more, and those hours are pretty regimented, and they're pretty exact. We don't really have much variation there. You get a night rating. Now you can fly at night in addition to flying during the day, so it opens up a lot of possibilities. An instrument rating, or even a simpler than that, which is called the VFR over the top rating, is another qualification you can add that allows you to fly over a cloud layer between two cities, as long as you can take off VFR and land VFR at the other end. And then even better, an IFR rating, which would allow you to fly through the clouds without having to worry too much about how thick the cloud layers are. VFR over the top is another 10 hours. The IFR rating requires you to have a total of 40 hours of instrument flying. So you can build these up as you go by getting a night rating, getting a VFR over the top, etc. And of course, The other side of it is to get a commercial pilot license, and you can continue from that by getting an instructor rating, and then the world's open to you in terms of making a career out of flying. What could be better to get actually paid for flying? Well, that's why one of the reasons I'm an instructor. And so that's it. So really, in summary, if you think about what is the private pilot license, there's a fair amount of work involved in getting it, but you can do a lot with it, including adding more qualifications and certainly seeing, maybe not the world, but at least seeing all of North America. Thank you very much.